y'all doing? I'm glad to actually be back and have some questions to answer. It feels good. So I've got something pretty valuable. It was useful to me today, and so I'm really glad to share it. I don't know if it's just the change of weather, but often it can bring on sinus headaches or migraines, if you are prone to those. And there's just been a lot of that running around my house. I also want to say that sometimes either of those are reactions to the body, fighting something off. And so with the change of the weather, that sometimes happens. And, it's just an immune booster thing that you kind of want to watch for, because maybe that's why your body's reacting that way. Who knows? Now, the difference between headaches and migraines, I really recommend that you don't diagnose yourself. Make sure that you have been diagnosed with migraines, not just proceed as if you have them, partly because there are other conditions that you can have that may look just like a migraine, or other problems that you might be having, and if those aren't tested for, you might be missing something that you could be getting help for, instead of letting it be unknown and then later find out. So try not to self-diagnose, no matter how hard it is. So remember that the difference between headache and migraine, when they're true headache and migraine, are the difference of blood rushing, so vasodilation, when the blood is rushing, that is the migraine one, and vasoconstriction, that's the headache one. So if you've got a headache, put your feet up, because that's going to help the blood get back to your head. When you've got the migraine, please lay flat. That will help that too, as far as positioning when you're laying down. Obviously, anything that you can do for the migraine to reduce and minimize light and sound. Sometimes you can't even really eat, but you do need to drink, because a lot of times there's vomiting, even just nausea, but trying to stay, hydrated. For the eyes, whether you have a headache or a migraine, I find that silk pillows filled with just flaxseed. Some people like to put in the lavender, or they use one like that. You may or may not prefer it. Some people are smell sensitive and would have a negative reaction to that. So just take that into consideration when you're, figuring out what your program wants to be. So what I did was make a mixture of essential oils. You want to always start with your carrier oil. I'd suggest one of these three, either sesame, grapeseed, or jojoba. And then the big heavy hitters of it are a combination, depending upon day or night, equal parts or one more than the other. Lavender and peppermint. Peppermint is great for pain. Lavender is as well. The two of those together, if you just have those two, you would do well for yourself. And the only other one that I'd want to say, please go out to get, is marjoram. Marjoram is fantastic for the nervous system, and it can really help a migraine. One of the best ways to use essential oils is directly on the feet, and you can take an essential oil and put it on the foot without having to mix it in a carrier oil. A lot of times when I've got a combination and I'm wanting to use something, like to put it on the head, I'll put it on the feet first. I've heard about people saying things like, I could taste the peppermint when I put it on my feet. It's probably more likely that you're smelling it, but people say that they have those experiences, and taste is part of smell, so who knows what's really going on. But it's a great way to really start to stimulate the body and let it know that you're going to be doing this and this and that. If you want to use the or the reflexology points on the feet regarding those, that's a great way to do it too. But I definitely say right in the center, K1, right in the very center of the foot, if you fold it and you get that center point, just go ahead and put that there. And that's a good way to start. So if you just had those two, or if you wanted to add that 3. So now, if you're a person who has a lot of essential oils, and you don't mind to keep mixing and keep mixing, just remember your proportions and how much you want for each amount of your carrier. So here are some of the other ones that I used: sandalwood, cedarwood, spearmint, ylang ylang, juniper, palmarosa, and here's one that you might want to not use if you have high blood pressure: rosemary. Juniper is also kind of questionable. Now, women often will get hormonally based migraines, and if that's the case, just add some clary sage. That's one way you can help. Another one is to use Vitex, which is really the chasteberry, and you can get essential oils of those. So what I did was I've made that mixture up, and I went ahead and I massaged it on the scalp. After I did that, I did some holds that were like just cranial holds that I learned from polarity therapy. So if anybody wants me to describe or demo those, I might be able to do that. And then after that was done, I just put a little silk pillow on the person, and in the room I burned eucalyptus, mint, and lemongrass. And it was so fast, you know, from the time of when, you know, they were miserable. And then the rest of the day they were totally fine. The day that I used it, I had gone to my chiropractor, and it was a coincidence that I was seeing him that day. The previous visit I had had with him, you know, he's like, oh my gosh, this is, you know, what is going on with you? This is a really horrible adjustment. You know, your body's not reacting well, right? And so, you know, that necessitated this second appointment, right? So then that day, I was waking up, I was like, oh, you know, I'm getting a migraine. Okay. So I did my little routine, and then when I went to have my adjustment, he remarked, wow, this one's going so well, so fast. And, you know, I really attribute it to the oils that I had a chance to use. Now, let's say you're a person who you still want some of these benefits, but you're not exactly sure you want to make a huge investment in, you know, oils, which if I've ever shown them all, I don't know. But yeah, it's quite a collection. And I mean, each one of them I use, and they last for so long because you just use so few drops. And I have, you know, like all these bottles that I mix in. I don't like how people, right now I know it's very popular to use those roller balls. I would really like to find if someone has roller ball dispensers that have metal balls on the top instead of plastic. I'm really partial to that. And if somebody ever finds them, I would really be interested. So let me know if that comes up for you. Otherwise, I just use an orifice reducer, and that does super. But let's say, you know, you don't want to do that, but you want some of the benefits. Okay, simple. Hydrosol. Now, a hydrosol is a floral water. Okay, when they steam distill, they're going to get, you know, the water, and then there's two or three other layers. The very, very, very top layer is the actual oil itself. And then there's this in-between layer that has this odd combination of properties of the oil, and it's actually water. You know, that's what rose water is and those kinds of things. A lot of people think that, oh, it's just water and they put essential oils in it. No, that's not true. Even if you're wanting to make a perfume, really, you take, you know, distilled water, what have you, throw in your essential oil, top it off with a little bit of alcohol. The higher content of alcohol you use, like over 70%, or at least 70, you're going to emulsify the oil into the water, and that will make you a perfume. Okay, but be careful if you're doing that with essential oils. Things like orange will stain and stuff like that. Okay, so for the headache, all you would need to do, lavender water, which is very easy to find, and peppermint water. Now, you can do the different proportions. Let's say if you're wanting it in the daytime, you're going to want more peppermint to lavender. If you're wanting it for the evening, you want more lavender than peppermint. And you don't even have to premix those. You'd want to keep them separate. And peppermint is so great to have in the summer, just because it cools you off in a really unique way. And just a spritz above your head, you know, it just is the best, most refreshing feeling. Or people who are having their own personal summers, that's a great one to use it for. Pardon me. So I think that's pretty much it. If anybody wants me to talk more about the movements that I did of the cranial holds, they want me to talk more about other things with migraines like the serotonin foods, or if you want me to talk more about some of the proportions of how you mix the oils and stuff like that, any aspect of it, I'd be really interested to hear. And if you have your own recipes, your own experiences with it, I would also be interested in that. Or please make a video response. And I always love hearing from you and being able to correspond back. So I wish you all blessings of peace, best of health. Take care.